a bit of an abbreviated introduction. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge. We're at Imola this week. I want to kick it off real quick by dragging Bob Lindell into this booth. Now that he's back from his forever hiatus. Bob, take us for a quick walk around this track as we ride along board with you. Kick us off in style.
These two coming out the other side. Exit is super important as you come into this. Now, I always find right here that my relative will turn green here when I do it right. I mean, I've got a lot more time in that spot coming around that tight corner, racing up the hill, waiting for it to come. Now, this is one of those risk-reward things where I don't risk it. It is so tempting to take this too much at speed and get an off track over there. You can rack those up in a hurry. You're not necessarily going to spin out, but they do add up. This downhill corner, again, here, a lot of spins here you'll see tonight as people are really trying to get the most out of carrying speed through that downhill off-camber corner. Coming up here, again, I wonder if the sun will be a factor tonight as they're coming into this. It's kind of blind over the top of this hill. And again, you're going to see people single stacking through here. And it's another one of those things very easy to overestimate, overrun, get a slowdown by blowing through that chicane. Now you're really eyeing up the end of the lap here, thinking you can really open your legs up, get them going, coming around here, setting yourself for this corner. This is another one where you're really tempted to try and outbrake yourself. You might fly off this end, and that's not what you want. Get back on the brakes here, really ride it around. You can get a slowdown if you cut that one too short, so you got to be watching it so you don't get too greedy. And you're off to the races. This is where a lot of times you'll be setting yourself up, and you'll be inching just alongside somebody down this whole straight. And that's a lap here tonight.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much for the lap. Any other pro tips and tricks that you're going to be employing tonight as we get into the first endurance round of the season?
I'm excited to be here. I haven't made races very much lately. I had some internet issues that I think I've got a interesting solution for, so we'll see if that holds on tonight. All through practice it's been holding, so I think we're good.
Alrighty, well, good luck. We're happy to see you out there on track, and hope you do well tonight, all right?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I'm going to throw you back into the party chat, so we'll see you in a bit. And that is Bob Lindell taking us through a lap with the Porsche GT3 once I got the lovely Discord up and working again, because apparently it's just going to be consistently broken. But we fixed it earlier this time. You can go through an entire conversation with Adam Dahl and then fix it. Find window of same execution. All right, let's see if that fixes it in the future. So, Bob Lindell bottlenecking up to Tommy Leeson, which I was given permission in between races to call him Tommy. He's going to go try to get around Bob Lindell. Bob Lindell's going to try not to kill Kevin Hayes there. He's trying to get his faster lap going. So, yeah, we talked a little bit. Got a quick lap rundown with Bob. I told him I'd get him in next time by, so that's why we got a little bit of an abbreviated start to this. Black flag for Marcus Osborne. Probably needs some pit repairs. We're at Imola, which, while this isn't the most, I think, usual way this map gets looked at when we're looking at track maps for the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, man, I did all this work to fix things, and it decided it didn't want to apply them, so that's okay. I will just work with it. All right. But lovely 21 corners of Italian history here as we go through Imola, as it's more commonly known. First endurance round of the challenge, so we have 90 minutes of racing tonight after a 30-minute open qualifying that we're currently just getting into the beginning of. Saw a couple lap times there. We'll hop back over to them now. You see how everyone's shaken down. Kevin Hayes on a pretty commanding lead for the start of this one, about 0.8 ahead of Tyler Roberts, Nate Sides, and Tyler are going to be duking it out for second place with that, just under 0.05 of a second separation between those two drivers. We did a lap in the GT3s. I think it only would be fitting for us to do a lap in the LMP2s. Tyler Roberts coming out, I think, of pit lane there to get another set of laps done. I'm trying to see who's near the end of a lap here. I think it might be. Coming up here in just a moment's time, we'll see if Nate Side is able to break free of these GT3s, which will probably slow him down. That Sudi Mercedes, I believe that was going to be Shane Brown there, getting out of the way of Nate Sides. Let's ride along board with Nate Sides as he dives into a lap here. Going to go around the GT3. You're just a little bit later on the brakes. A couple other corners you take a little bit differently within the GT3s with how much downforce you have versus the drivers. Brakes way later, gets that rotation in, and back on the throttle. Keep pretty much power down from turn number 2 all the way up until the braking marker here, just on that 50 board here, just ever so. It's much more of a trail brake than the hard braking that we saw Bob Lindell do into the hairpin. As I pull up the track map, you can see where we're at. The most acute corner that we just go out through into the lovely back half of the lap. Jesse Olson putting together a fantastic kind of track guide or race info, race notes, I think is what he called them. As we get through the very technical back half of the lap into that chicane towards the end of it. Oh, it's almost talking about that spin that Bob Lindell was talking about earlier. Sides keeps it together nice and tidy to round out a lap here. And get underway himself, see if he can get improved from where he's sitting in third. And he's going to get bottled up by GT3s once again at the end of the lap. And that will see him try to reset another good time here. See if he improves at all. The answer is yes. He'll improve a 10th faster than Tyler Roberts. See if Tyler Roberts has a response here coming up. I am going to go not very far. Just going to see what I can put together here. Get a nice overview shot. Looking at some of the exciting action happening here. Oh, I say exciting, and it says, hey, let's look at the pit lane, which is not the most exciting. Let's go find myself a couple more drivers to add to the roster. Jason Scott is in a Lamborghini, which puts him into the GT3 AM category, if I remember correctly. Make sure he gets properly classified amongst our drivers. You'll see that overlay refresh as I do so. Right. Yeah, I mentioned that's what the last season was. Sweet. Ooh. Hard moment there for Chris Kraus as he's trying to get a lap done. And we'll watch a couple more drivers try to get laps in. Most of the drivers here having put down a lap time. Watching Tyler Roberts try to navigate through his first flyer after he petted it for more fuel. I think he actually just is on his second flyer. I say that. We'll have to see. Big puff of smoke there from a car that has gone off. I think that was a different driver. Jesse Olson currently sitting in P2. And Justin Hall just ahead of them. As you see him go through the first sector. Just kind of cutting through cars here as I get all these sorted out. Justin Hall leading off the GT3 Pro drivers by a full second. Jesse Olson. I get the feeling Jesse Olson hasn't had the best laps. Joe Evers setting in a better time there with that 136.4 will put him up into fourth and only 2/10 behind Tyler Roberts. So a good grouping there between those two drivers. Bit of a gap between him and Patrick Cantrell in fifth. And Ian Baker kind of seemed to duke it out and want that position as well as we're riding along with Justin Hall in that GT3 Pro Mercedes. Michael Doyen getting a better time in with that Veterans United Auto Sports car. He's going to pull it over to the side to probably put some more fuel in it. Richard Constanza, his teammate, trying to get around him to get a lap in as well. Veterans United Porsches out in full force this evening. Got Jordan Oliver, I think, right alongside them as well, getting off of one of his flyers. He sets a 144.85, the most recent time by. All right, let's see. We have gotten most of the way. I say most of the way. We are just under halfway. Looking at the timing tower, looking at who's set lap times, who still has yet to set lap times. Mitch Buenaventura currently sitting at 137.4. I wonder if he's got a couple more seconds in him. We'll have to see as he keeps going around if he's able to maximize that time at all. You saw that first LMP3 as we look at the gearbox cam, or what we call, not the gearbox cam, but the gyro cam, which looks at that Red Bull liveried and Aston Martin visored helmet of Mitch Buenaventura's driver model. Let's see him as he goes around one of the Stellarum Motorsports vehicles. Got a few of them float around the paddock and on track this evening. Looking at a good, healthy grid of folks. Currently sitting at, I believe, just over 30 cars. Once again, we had 33 for both of our races last week. Should be good stuff. I'll take a quick moment here, see if I can hit the points button, and if it will showcase our points correctly. We'll find out here just a moment's time. Never mind, the website, the web server is down. I will note that too at Landon Orr. So I will not be showing you points. I will try to talk about them when I can. Standings. Yep. So we'll see here if we can get those up before we get to qualifying. Meanwhile, still right along with Mitch Buenaventura, who's going around a couple LMP3s. Got his way up to third. Nate Sides getting a little bit more of a gap between himself and Tyler Roberts. Mitch Buenaventura trying to split the difference as both Nate and Mitch break into those 135 times, just a little bit behind that 134.83 of Kevin Hayes, who finds himself in the barrier. I wonder what happened there. See if I have he went off track. There we go. Well, there's where he went off track. That's not going to help me much. See if I back up a little bit more. And that over rotation, like Bob Lundell said a little bit earlier on, finally gets that car going back the right direction. Seeing who else has yet to put down a time. Ken Duvall, Kenny D, is going to try to see if he can get a lap time in before the end of qualifying. Plenty of time for him to do it. Plenty of time for all of these drivers to get better times in, faster lap times as we get underway. Bob Lundell getting into the 145.9 is his most recent time by. And we have standings. Oh, there is a Pro-Am split for the P217s. Interesting. At least I'm seeing one. It may not be supposed to be one. So we'll see whether or not that's correct. I have made Landon aware of the Pro-Am split of the LMP2. So we'll take a look at those points here in just a moment. Actually, we'll look at them right now. We'll just hit this button and then hit this button. All right. Back to the racing. We're looking at where we're at as we get through to the end of qualifying, which, thankfully, looks to be pretty close-knit in terms of fighting. Nate Sides getting that gap down to half a second between himself and Kevin Hayes, who still holds the top spot. Mitch Ventura going to have another half second back from himself to Nate Sides. Tyler Roberts improving to 135.9, breaking into the 135s. We'll round out those 4 drivers that I think are within that bracket for those positions. Ian Baker in 5th. Joe Evers, Patrick Cantrell still rounding out all of those positions. Patrick Cantrell hanging out right there as he responds in the broadcasting chat about the single division of LMP2. So that'll be a fantastic drive there. Everyone else getting set to go racing here in just a few minutes' time. 8 minutes left on the clock. About 4 more laps of driving left for these drivers to improve their time, see what they can do. About 4 seconds separates the fastest GT3 from our slowest LMP2. Let me make sure I got everyone in there. I think I've had a couple other drivers pop in as this is their first week. Jason Scott, you can see him there trying to get a time in. Wesley Woods also rejoining the grid this season, which was exciting to see. Another GT3 AM driver, I believe. Remembering my GT3s correctly. Yep. As Wesley Woods tries to get a lap in a Porsche this time. Fantastic stuff. Jason Larson in that LMP2, getting that car around I'm thinking of Jason Scott, who we also have seen join the grid tonight. Michael Doyen trying to get another lap in before the end of the timing for qualifying. We see Jason Larson go flying off outside the runoff of turn number 2 and 3. Let's see Michael Doyen get past him. The fog that we had early on in practice has come to a close. We now have a little bit, as the sun seems to burn it away, we get into this lovely early morning sunrise of a race. I think it'll be a fantastic one for the books. Another close battle to follow. Andre Saba finding the speed he needs to get himself up into 4th. Olivier, only 400ths behind Jesse Olsen in that Aston Martin. And then Kenny Duval and Michael Doyen are the top 5 there. Ken Duval seems to be, I have him right, as the GT3 AM driver, right? Seems to be. Ken Duval, yes. Or excuse me. Yeah, GT3 AM driver. He just happens to find himself currently in 5th overall. Andre Saba looking to improve. He improved last time by. See if he improves further this time as he gets around to the end of the lap. He does improve, closes down that gap from himself to Olivier by half a second, going from 9/10 to, just under half a second to 5/10. And then he's going to park it, pull it over, probably get some more gas in it to make one final attempt at improving his lap time. Tyler Roberts getting ahead of Mitch Ventura, this most recent time by, with 135.29. Who hasn't put in time? Devin Adams and Nick Terrell. Nick Terrell trying to get his lap time in. We saw him have pretty fantastic results throughout our races last week in this LMP2. This lovely Mystery Machine based car. Oh. Speaking of Mr. Machine, team championships are back this season after the race last week. Shut Up and Drive It from Justin Hall and Jesse Olson leading off that group. I'm just going to give you the quick rundown of all of those and where they're standing right now. 236 points for those 2 drivers. Project Zoomies, which has Patrick Cantrell and Tyler Roberts in second with 218. Mystery Inc., Nick Terrell, Kevin Collado tied. I believe tied. blind? I am blind. Almost tied. 2 points ahead of Easy Bake Racing, which has Ian Baker, Joe Evers, 208 to 206th. Awful Sauce Motorsports, or artisanal wieners full of liquid sauce motor racing. Charles Rotes, Adam Dahl, 198 points. The last season, from what I've heard and what I've seen in the OMEC news for Charles Rotes before he is off to real-life obligations, and we'll see that driver's seat open up for the next generation of Sauce Motorsports. Sudi, slower, we try harder. Shane Brown, Chris Wells, 156 points there. Checkers or Wreckers. The Checkers or Wreckers team run by Marcus Osborne and Chris Kraus at 151. Different than the Checkers or Wreckers team ran by Kevin Hayes, which I'm not sure I see on this list. And I'm super curious if that actually is the right one or if we're having more errors in that cool thing we call the OMEC backend. Let's see here. Let me look at this team roster. Make sure I've got it right. Oh, these are just from last season. Because you did not put one in for this season. Okay. Checkers Records with Kevin Hayes and Joe Evers, the real ones, are not on this list. So this list is definitely not up to date. I will mark this down for Landon to also tackle. I only got like a third of the way through it. So with that, we get to the end of qualifying. We've been hanging out with Nick Terrell as he's been putting in lap times, getting himself into what is effectively 10th place there with 139.4. Trying to see where he always likes to start from back and see how far he can get up the order. However, Justin Hall still holding on to a pretty solid lead over Jesse Olsen by 0.3. Only 400 still separates Jesse Olsen and Olivier Blanger. Andre Saba cutting that gap down, but no further. Ken Duval getting 0.4 behind Andre. Michael Doyen rounding out the top 5 of GT4 or GT3 Pro, and then Matt Markley right behind him. Both those drivers only a few hundredths ahead behind Ken Duval's time. LMP2 points have been fixed. Let's go double check that. Yes, once I refresh that, it definitely does. Sweet. So, yeah. I had all that right. And now it all looks super pretty in on group. So next week when we talk about it more, we can easily see who's where in those three of those LMP2 drivers. .30 seconds left for drivers to improve their times. Calvin Collado getting the best lap he's had all night. Puts himself, I believe, a few tenths behind Joe Evers for that one. Top 3 of each class seems to be as they were. Marcus Osborne, Tommy Leeson rounding out the top 3 alongside Ken Duval for GT3 AM. We talked about it a bunch, but Kevin Hayes, Nate Sides, Tyler Roberts are going to be your top 3, I think, of LMP2, unless Calvin Collado or Nick Terrell set a very rapid time, or Mitch Bonaventura. I think we might be able to see him wrap up a lap here as he's desperately trying to get onto the podium after a fantastic pair of races last week. That checkered flag flying for qualifying. We'll get into the grid here and get underway in just a moment's time. I do have to ask one, Marcus Hayes or Marcus Osborne. Let me rip him into the booth.
out and
Mark.
put a new one in. Hello.
Hi, Marcus. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you this evening?
Good. Just wanted to ask, you are in second. Are we expecting you to finish on the podium tonight, or will you find a way to bottle it?
You know, I'm not good when I qualify good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mess up. So we'll see.
Okay.
My setup is full. I got full wing on this bad boy. I didn't go sketchy.
Okay. You're playing it safe.
We're nice and safe.
Okay.
We're gonna just be looking to finish.
All right.
Kenny Duval is pretty quick though.
Yeah.
I don't know. My quali setup sucked. I couldn't get a lap in to save my life. So
I mean, you're only what, 2/10 behind him?
yeah. Sometimes I worry that I'm gonna be upgraded to pro, but then I see how many people qualify in front of me, and I'm like, nah, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
I mean,
I don't know how Justin Hall did a 40. What the hell? 40.8, buddy?
Yeah, 40.8.
Whew. I'd have
Rapid.
to find 2 seconds somehow. Don't know how I'd do that.
So, all right. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure I'll probably grab you at some point here now that I've been given the powers to rip people from party into here.
I'll be here, buddy.
So, all right. Good luck. All right. That was Marcus Osborne. Seeing how he's doing, our league owner namesake. As we get into that lovely, lovely bit we love to call the grid. As I say lovely. Lovely is the word tonight, apparently. All right. Kevin A is going to lead off alongside Mitch Bonaventura, who does manage to get a better lap time in, only a 10th behind Kevin Hayes. Nate Sides and Tyler Roberts round out that top four with that second row. Ian Baker alongside Tim Schaefer. Patrick Cantrell, Joe Evers going to be on row number 4. 9th is going to be Kelvin Collado alongside Nick Terrell, who is in 10th. Jason Larson and Devin Adams don't set lap times, so they'll, or excuse me. Yes, Jason Larson did get a lap time in, but that was not a very fast one. And Devin Adams did not get one in, I think due to the choices. He decided not to make a qualifying run. So, those are your 12 LMP2s. You don't have a 13th Phantom Fennicini floating around there, so that will be, I think, for the best there. Justin Hall is going to lead off GT3 Pro alongside Jesse Olson. Olivier Bollinger and Andre Saba on row number 2. Our first GT3 AM driver in Ken Duval. Kenny getting a very good lap time in. He's going to start alongside Michael Doyen in 5th in GT3 Pro. Matt Markley is going to be alongside who we just talked to, Marcus Osborne. Tom Leeson alongside Kevin Medita. Richard Costanza and Chris Wells are going to be on that 12th row of the grid. And I think we have just a few more. Maybe? Did I hit the button? I hit the wrong button. That's what happened. There we go. Last but certainly not least, Chris Krause alongside Bob Lindell, who gets a fantastic time in. Adam Dahl, Wesley Woodell, Jordan Oliver, Shane Brown, Kyle Orvetz, Wesley Woods, and Jason Scott are your 33 drivers out this evening. We'll see that pace truck lead off the classes here. We'll hop on to, see if I can get us just a little bit ahead. Can I get a gearbox shot? Do you have a gearbox? Do you have a reverse? I'm sure you have a reverse chase. I can do a rear chase on you. I cannot. The pace truck does not have a rear chase. This is weird. If I force it? I do. I can. There we go. I just have to manually adjust it. You'll see the grid get up here. Kevin Hayes once again making good friends with the rear bumper of the pace car here. And Mitch Bonaventura also getting ready alongside these two drivers coming down the last sector of the racetrack. As I go pull up a track map, could be have on hand. I didn't think I thought I already pulled one up, but I guess not. As we get through the last couple corners here, let's get this car on to Kevin Hayes. See the pace truck peel in, make a hard right-hand turn here. And then we'll wait for those lights to turn red for us, the green flag to wave for them, and then we'll go racing here at Imola. Until then, Kevin Hayes controls the field for that launch. Everybody goes on green, so it's a long wait as they get underway here. As the green flag just now gets thrown. And they are going racing 2 wide up into turn number 1, or really turn number 2, 3, and 4. The first complex, a chicane, very technical, easy to lose track of where you are amongst all these drivers, so they're going to take it nice and easy 2 wide. Looking to the back in the field alongside Joe Evers, who gets a pretty good run. But Kevin Collado is looking to make up places here. Justin Hall leading off GT3 is not far behind, who have already started to zipper down. And so they'll get those cars underway. Michael Doyen can, I think, keep up and move out to Matt Markley for that position there. The rest of the field all looking pretty tidy as we get through turn number 1. I don't think we had any cars currently listed as crashed, which is for the best. Jason Larson, Devin Adams, I think, having a bit of a moment there, but they are all moving the right direction. Up at the top, Mitch Bonaventura still chasing down Kevin Hayes for the lead of the race. Nate Sides and Ian Baker following not far behind. Tyler Roberts going to lose out of position to Ian Baker on that start, but he'll be in the 5th position. Patrick Cantrell making great strides alongside Nick Terrell, who is up 3 positions from where he started in 10th. See Tim Chafer as well as Joe Evers fall down a few positions to make up for that difference. All right, as we get through 1 lap, Nate Sides going to lose out, I think, to Ian Baker. Ian Baker making some early moves here. Now, this is going to be interesting. We have 90 minutes of racing. There may or may not be a yellow flag. I cannot confirm nor deny. I don't want to pull in Kevin from where he's currently leading the race to ask him. So I'll pull him in if he needs to, or if I need to, if I want to. We'll see. Taking a look throughout the field, trying to see where everyone's at. Joe Evers, I think, had a bit of a slide there. Oh, he's been having, I think, a little bit of a connection issue there. See him blinking. Jason Larson labeled as cutting the course. You see that little yellow flag there? Means that he has been given that, that warning. Has to give that time back up. Kevin Hayes getting a good second lead to Mitch Bonaventura. Mitch Bonaventura getting a second lead to Ian Baker. Ian Baker getting a great lead to Nate Sides. All 3 of these all pretty much top 4, all separated by a second or more. However, Olivier Blanger getting hunted down by Jesse Olsen after a great launch. We'll see him up into 2nd. He did go off track Jordan Oliver went off track just a moment ago. Michael Doyen as well as Matt Markley a little further back, also duking it out for 5th place in class. Ken Duvall in separating those 2 drivers from the top 4 in class. Tom Leeson up a position. I think we see Marcus Osborne having gone down the order. He's down 2 positions from where he started. I wonder if he had a bit of a moment there. Devin Adams finds himself a little ways down the order. He went through pit lane. I wonder if he got a black flag for serving a penalty or try to serve a penalty. I'm not sure. Can I ask him? I don't want to kick him off of his stream. He might be trying to do something. We'll see. We'll bother him later. We get a full course yellow. Let's see what we got here. It's the mystery. Oh, the car is so slow. I would love for that to be the case. I mean, I'm a little late to that one. I would love for that to be the case. I don't think it is. But he's not that slow now as he currently sits in 6th, getting past Tyler Roberts and keeping up his way up the field. Mitch Bonaventura setting the fastest lap. His fastest lap for the class so far. That is a legal lap. Maybe there's some off tracks there for Kevin Hayes and Ian Baker, who both set faster lap times, but is not being labeled as the fastest lap. Or maybe it's his personal fastest. I'm not sure. We'll find out Marcus Osborne has gone off track, come back on track, doing all right, but it seems to be fallen down the order. Jason Scott labeled as crashed. Let's see if we can find out what happened there in this GT3 Lamborghini. First race out for him. A lunge there from Devin Adams. I think probably it's going to unsettle that car. That aero wash might come an issue. Oh, no, that is a Shane Brown that comes hardly across the track. And the front end gets crunched from Jason Scott. So a rough race. Goes from bad to worse. We see Shane Brown off and on the track here a good few times. Let's take a quick fast forward look through it as he spins around there. We'll see him kind of come back on track, and eventually I think he'll pull it over and bring it back to pits. Meanwhile, Ian Baker, Nate Side still within a few tenths. Kelvin Collado trying to get around Tim Schaefer at this point. The two of them within a couple tenths of each other. Ride along board. I haven't done a ride along yet in race with these two drivers. Perfect time, I think, to do it is with Kelvin Collado as he's trying to make his move on Tim Schaefer as we get into the back half of the lap. You can see where each of them have their own strengths and weaknesses going into this final chicane of the lap before we get to the last. Oh, good catch there from Kelvin as he tries to keep that car from going too far to the left or to the right. And we are getting done with lap number 4. Gap 2 seconds between Kevin Hayes to Mitch. Another second between Mitch to Ian. Another second between Ian to Nate. Or just under that now. GT3 Pro, similar story. Justin Hall, a second and a half, almost 2 seconds ahead of Olivier, who is only a few seconds behind, or a few tenths. There we go. Those are the words. A few tenths ahead of Jesse Olsen, riding along with him now as they get into their fifth lap as well. These two pretty close together. Kenny Duval keeping Andre Sabat honest behind the two of them. And then Tom Leeson, going to be the second driver. Chris Kraus in third there for GT3 AM. Marcus Osborne, Richard Costanza, Wesley Waddell, all within a few tenths of each other further down the order. Marcus is trying to make up some time there. Has the look. Doesn't commit. Sticks in behind Richard Costanza, the veteran United, versus the Marcus, I guess the cow-printed Osborne setup shop liveried Aston Martin. And these drivers currently seeing to where they can fight for what will be 4th place. All right. Wonder how long I was talking before I realized I was muted. Ideally not too long. We'll find out. Nick Terrell, a few tenths behind Patrick Cantrell. Kelvin Collado, Jason Larson, as well as Tim Schaefer, all in a battle as well for what is 8th in class, as well as 8th overall. Ken Duvall keeping Andre Saba honest, as these two probably go side by side into the final couple sectors here. Ken Duvall looking to make the move. Andre Saba saying, I'm not really racing. I'm racing you for points. Oh, wow, there's an announcer. Yes, there is. There does happen to be an announcer. Again, I don't realize how long it was. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I feel like I was talking for a little bit longer than that. There is an announcer. A very terrible, not great announcer. That's a Kyle Oravets going the wrong way. Let's see what happened here. I'm guessing Bob Lindell talked about these spins before the race when he was going through his lap guide way early on, as these two Stellar Motorsports go through, and then, yeah, just catches those inside tires on the curbing, and that gets the car all nice and loose. Was okay, cool. Perfect. I'm thrilled to know that I'm being messed with and that I was not as gone as long as I thought it was. Well, or maybe. Who knows? Thank you. Thank you for messing with me. That is much appreciated. These four drivers all within a second of each other. And then a 6-second gap between Tyler Roberts, the back of this pack here, and then Tim Schaefer, which we can see in leading off the pack with Jason Larson, Joe Evers, Kelvin Collado. I wonder if Kelvin Collado had an off track. Looks like he did. I kind of want to see what happened there because he was initially battling Tim Schaefer. Tim Schaefer, I wonder if he over committed there, ends up taking a little bit of, takes the runoff, goes over the sausage curbs, which are brutal there for the LMP2. Really unsettles the car there. That's a Devin Adams laps down at this point, rejoining the racetrack. I wonder why he's going through pit lane. I don't have an answer. I'm not sure I want to ask. Jason Larson, however, trying to take the fight to Tim Schaefer. Tim Schaefer lifting a little bit to tuck in behind Joe Evers, now back in the mix with these drivers after finding himself at the back of the pack. As much as he can be. Kelvin Collado looking to try to make the move again. Joe Evers having to play defensive because there was a car alongside him, so he had no room to get back onto that racing line. These four duking it out for position as well. All of the drivers in the lead part of this race are currently sitting about a second between each other, and that's true for Kevin Hayes, Mitch Ventura, Ian Baker. Nate Sides, Patrick Cantrell, and Nick Terrell are the first two having a battle here, which you can see. I think it's Nick Terrell flashing Patrick Cantrell. Wonder if there was almost an incident there that he was trying to prevent. And then you have Marcus Osborne, who's Knight. He's trying to make up the positions. Got around Richard Costanza, now finds himself stuck behind Wesley Waddell. Was second in class at the start of this. You see the lunge down the inside. He's getting hungry for these positions to get the moves done. But I wonder if Wesley Waddell is going to have an over-under with his long backstretch coming up in just a moment here. We'll have to see. But with the going into those two, we'll see that not happen there. Mitch Ventura off track for just a moment, but that's going to bring him right within striking distance, I believe, of Ian Baker. Yeah, you can see Ian Baker, but he's getting pushed wide by Shane Brown in that Sudi livery GT3, who lifts to allow this train of LMP2 cars now come to pass. Might be why that gap got made in the beginning, but now these four cars are all within a second of each other, and about 2.5 seconds collectively between Ian Baker here at the tip and Nick Terrell at the rear end of this. All right. Joe Evers, Kelvin Collado, as well as Tim Schaefer, all duking it out for these final few spots. We followed this battle for these drivers a little bit earlier. We're going to follow it again as Kelvin Collado looking to make that move. He goes around what is now the outside, or was the outside, now the inside. Finds Joe Evers looking to make that move done, but that's going to see maybe an off track for Kelvin Collado. Definitely one for Tim Schaefer, as well as Jason Larson, which is going to have him being required to serve a slowdown. You can see that little yellow panel there, our indicator that he has a furled black flag on track. So all these drivers, Mitch Ventura, Ian Baker, Nate Sides, Patrick Cantrell, Nick Terrell, all 5 of these cars. Let's see if we can run along with Nick Terrell and see all of these cars out of the front roll cage. Really invigorating to know when you have a pretty decent ride, and you can see everybody battling up ahead. I see Nate Sides trying to get around Ian Baker. That's up right behind him, 0.3 tenths. We're going to see these two go through the first couple corners. Tunes 2, 3, 4, 5 now out into the straightaway here. So I pull up a track map to make sure I get all the good names. They're all variantes of a sort. We go into what is known as Tosa, according to this, but the hairpin is, I think, where it's more colloquially known. So we keep rolling. Oh, the buttons. Someone we haven't checked in on, but is doing pretty solidly from where he started to where he is now. Adam Dahl. We'll see if I can run off and bother him in his pit chat.
Picking up my downforce.
Adam Dahl.
Hello, Fen. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, now that we're 9 laps in, I'm a lot chiller. Lap 1, I ended up 3 wide, and everyone in here got to hear me scream for 3 turns straight.
You all survived, it seemed. I didn't see anybody die, so...
I'm genuinely surprised, too. It looked like a few people backed out of battles just for that.
The screams were so much that his mic cut out. It could only be heard by dogs.
Lap 1 of the race. Let's see if I can go find it. So you're 3 wide. Oh, you guys were 3 wide just from the start, huh?
Yeah.
There were 3 wide in front of you, too. Man, this GG3 start was pretty much more scary than what we saw like 2 corners later.
I was genuinely surprised that there was no one off in the gravel. There's no gravel pits on the track now. So...
Yeah. You guys all survived. Wesley Waddell almost killed you, for the record, but
he didn't. So
yeah.
No hunting him down in the pit lane later.
Yeah. Currently sitting, I believe, 8th in class. Got to see a massive undercut bump you up into P2 again, the podium finish.
I'm hoping. We've done fuel calculations for the first time ever.
Oh, that's fun.
So hopefully we've timed it right, and we're going off the assumption that there's no safety car today.
I will neither confirm nor deny, as I have no idea. I have the loose inklings of what possibly could be, but I have no idea if that's actually going to come true or not. So
delightful.
I can neither give you good news or bad news. I can only give you the news of I will be equally as surprised as you if it happens.
Well, statistically speaking, we are not inclined for one today.
It's true. Yeah, we did only have one last season. I now worry. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Either way, you guys got the first bit of LMP2 traffic coming up on you. I'll let you get back to it so that way you can navigate that with some success.
Oh, boy. The blue flags just kicked in.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. I will leave you to it. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Hello.
Can I bother you with some in-race questioning?
Hello?
Hello.
What's going on?
Not much. How you doing, Michael?
Not too bad. Just can't improve my time here.
You got plenty of time, plenty of race left to do it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm just getting caught by the prototypes in a little battle myself here.
Copy.
Nice. No, I figured I'd come bother y'all while I'm running up and down the paddock. But I'll leave y'all to it if you guys don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, trying to chase down Markley. It's tough.
So I'll leave you to it then. You got a second to him. I think you got it.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Alrighty, take care, y'all. All right, Veterans United. I've finished bothering them. Who I will instead bother, because I cannot be stopped, and no one, I think, really wants to stop me. Well, maybe. Let's see. All right. Let's see. What do I got? What am I missing? Got all these things. Got everything going. We're cruising. Michael Doyen currently sitting in 6th, about a second behind Matt Markley. The time there going to be probably going a little bit slower as the race goes on because the race is going to heat up. I think I'm not anymore crazy now. Yep. Patrick Cantrell and Nick Terrell within tenths of each other as they get into traffic. Nick Terrell trying to find his way around to get up into 5th position. Both these drivers having a fantastic start to the race. Nate Sides and Ian Baker just ahead of them, also going within a few tenths of each other to improve these times after getting stuck behind a little bit of traffic. Mitch Bonaventura and Kevin Hayes each 3 seconds ahead of these drivers we're looking at right now. Chris Kraus, Kevin Medina, Kevin Medina and Tom Leeson, I think, are in a bit of a overall battle, not in-class battle. Kind of keeping up with this bottom step of the podium battle we have going on right now. Nate Sides trying to figure out whether or not he wants to follow Ian Baker through. He ends up going to tuck in behind Wesley Waddell. That battle going to come to an abrupt end as Nate Sides has to get around traffic. And we'll see that battle continue probably here in just a moment's time. Nick Terrell trying to see if he can find this way around Patrick Cantrell as the two of them check up for Wesley Waddell to not run into that GT3 Aston Martin vehicle. Nick Terrell really looking for his path around. We'll see if he can find it here in a couple moments' time. And as we get, I believe we are just under the 1/3 mark, excuse me. About 9 minutes left till the 30-minute marker. The 20-minute marker, I believe, was the window for when our safety car could appear. So we'll see if that comes to fruition tonight. Adam Dahl and Bob Lindell into battle here as Bob Lindell finds a great exit out of the hairpin, or Tora, as the fantastic Tosa, excuse me, not Tora. Tosa wants to label it. Coming into Piratella, and the last bits of traffic as Kevin Collado tries to find his way around. Kelvin Collado kind of on a race of his own after getting past Tim Schaefer and Joe Evers. Joe Evers and Tim Schaefer battling it out for 10th in class. Tim Schaefer having, I think, a much more rough race than he was intending. Found himself 4 places down from where he started in 6th. Patrick Cantrell, Nick Terrell still in that battle. I've been kind of following the duel between the two of them as they get through another lap. Marcus Osborne now the latest in GT3s that seem to be holding up Patrick Cantrell and keeping this battle in play. Mitch Bonaventura finding Kevin Hayes, as Mitch Bonaventura has some great traffic over Kevin Hayes's less than successful traffic, but a second still separates these two. We'll have to check back in on them here in a little bit. Most of the heat simmering down as we get most of the way through the first 20 minutes. Jason Scott, Wesley Woods in the tail end of the field. Jason Scott nursing that damage he had earlier on, but half a second and closing to Wesley Woods in that number 2 Porsche. Reality Bill, I'm trying to figure out what the extra parts for the awful sauce motor racing emoji is, and I haven't figured it out yet. So I'll get back to you on that whenever I do. Tom Leeson, Kevin Medina as they get through traffic. Nate Sides trying to keep up the pressure on Ian Baker as they are now 2 tenths away from each other. These two battles heating up as they are going toe to toe. Nate Sides figuring out where he can apply the pressure, and Nick Terrell getting around Patrick Cantrell. How did he end up back here? Hold on, I missed something. Patrick Cantrell listed as crashed, of course, when I wanted to look away and look at one other thing. That's when all this happens. See what happened to Patrick here. Again, once again, they're getting into the, what you call it here, Oh, just gets loose on the entry. That's an interesting one. Usually it's the exit of the chicane that catches them out, but the entry is what did them in. That's why he ends up behind Tyler Roberts, his teammate. I'm sure he's probably kicking himself for that one. Jason Larson trying to find his way around Patrick Cantrell now. Mitch Buenaventura back in the fight with the leader, half a second between himself and Kevin Hayes. Let's see how these two develop here. See if I can follow along from one of the rear cams of Kevin Hayes. You can see that Ken Duvall's GT3 in between himself and Mitch Buenaventura. Mitch Buenaventura gives the flashers to let them know that he is coming through in a battle, in a hunt for these cars. Almost gets in with Andre Saba, but Andre Saba and Mitch Buenaventura keep it clean. So we'll see here how those two are getting along. A little bit longer. Tyler Roberts labeled as crashed. Oh no. We'll have to see what happens to him here as we look at this. Goes off track. I wonder if it was a similar incident that we saw earlier. Oh, he's getting ready to get past Chris Kraus as well as Tom Leeson and I think Kevin Medita as well. And I wonder if it's the same thing. Same thing. Both the Project Zoomies cars getting unfortunately caught up on that entry curbing at what is known as, I believe, Variante Alta. It's the fancy one. Fancy set of words there. The battle for these two hasn't slowed down a bit. Nate Sides getting around Ian Baker here just a moment ago. I want to see this pass because I think it'll be worth catching up with. And this is going to be for the lead. Getting that nice line down the inside, late on the brakes, sticks it, and runs away with it. A fantastic pass done by Nate Sides there for P3. Bottom step of the podium. These two up at the front end also duking it out. Patrick Cantrell still fighting off against Jason Larson as well. Matt Markley, Kevin Medita having a swap of position as Michael Doyen finds his way into and out of pit lane for the pit stops. We are now within, I think, the window for pit stops for these drivers. Adam Dahl off track and on track. We just talked with him a little while ago as he was fighting and defending against Bob Lindell. Oh, just gets it loose on that sausage curbing. Oh, it looks harder than it is. That car looks much less upset than I expected it to. That right rear, however, looks a little unhappy. Oh, that is a crabbing car. I get the feeling we'll see him bring that car in next time by. So we'll check up on that and see how he's going here in a moment. Adam Dahl. Oh, no. Adam Dahl. Bad goes to worse for this driver as he tries to keep that car from going the right direction. And it looks like he'll see it probably spin on him as he's trying to make this corner here. Yep. And it just rotates around. Gets it going. Keeps it out of the way. Michael Doyen narrowly hits him as well. Gap opens back up between Kevin Hayes and Mitch Buenaventura as the traffic comes to an end for the first time by. Shane Brown trying to stay out of the way of these two drivers. Justin Hall and Olivier Belanger going to be the two leaders there. Olivier finding his way around Justin Hall a little while ago. See if I can find that pass for the lead. I missed it in all of this LMP2 excitement. Probably happened a little while ago, but yeah, let's see this battle for the lead. We'll see. I wonder if it's an off here. Yeah, you can see this the smoke already from the gravel that he has kicked up. Justin Hall had an off track there, which gives the lead over to Olivier Belanger. These two, however, still in a battle as Mitch Buenaventura once again catches up to the tail of Kevin Hayes. As these two get into a battle for the lead, Mitch Buenaventura having the look, tucks back in as he realizes he doesn't have the pace for it. But he'll keep the pressure on as Kevin Hayes having a slower exit there. And Mitch Buenaventura having the look, keeping it tucked in, however. Mostly doing this as a bit to try to psych out The driver in front of him, both of them getting stuck behind Olivier, who we just talked about taking over the lead of GT3 Pro. And the two of them will go around him as well. Wow. These two still within just a stone's throw of each other. Ian Baker, Nick Terrell, Nate Sides, all duking it out as well just behind them. Keep an eye on this one as well. 2/10 separate Ian Baker and Nate Sides, excuse me. Nick Terrell waiting for something to go wrong, as well as have his own bit of makeup here. See what more he can do. Keeps setting faster laps for himself, Nick Terrell does. Working his way up the order. Started 10th, finds himself in 5th by the 30-minute mark. 1/3 distance complete. 2/3 left to go for these drivers. We may or may not see a safety car tonight. Let's see how that plays out. I've been given, I think, a new standings roster to go look at. Go see if I can pull that up real quick as we're following along with these drivers. Make sure I refresh it. So, real quick, while I'm thinking about it, and we can see it here, or I will just relay it to you. Project Zumi's going to be leading off Checkers or Wreckers, Patrick Cantrell and Tyler Roberts heading over Kevin Hayes and Joe Evers. Mystery Inc. is going to be in third, Nick Terrell, Kelvin Collado with 208 points. A 1 point lead difference between Project Zumi's and Checkers or Wreckers, by the way. Awful Sauce, Motorsports, or Motor Racing, excuse me. Charles Rose, Adam Dahl in 100 with 198 in fourth. Solar Motorsports, Joshua Harless and Jordan Oliver in fifth. JT Racing, Veterans United, Podium Hunters. Prestige Motorsports, as well as B&B Racing, are the 10 teams that currently have standings here. And the battle between the various groups of cars in LMP2 still going strong, even as we hit the 30-minute mark. A black flag for Jason Larson for, I believe, what is going to be an incident limit. We'll see him probably come into the pit lane here. That is a slow Shane Brown off to the side there as he tries to get out of the way of most of those drivers. Bob Lindell finds himself defending against Richard Costanza, two Porsches in a battle there. Andre Saba trying to find his way up to keep himself ahead of Kenny Duvall, who's behind him, and Matt Markley, who's just a little bit further back from Ken. GT3's field, pretty spread out minus the two battles I've just mentioned, which are not for position. Jason Larson serving his pit lane, his black flag penalty, I believe, for incident limit. We'll see him do a drive-through, no stop in the box. You'll see him return to the track, keep on fighting. Ian Baker trying to defend against Nick Terrell at this point. Wesley Woods getting caught up in the middle of that. You can see that number 2, meaning that he's going to have a little bit more of breathing room. Ian is, over Nick Terrell, who isn't going to have breathing room as that number keeps sliding down. You can see it. Mitch Bonaventura is continuing to apply the pressure on Kevin Hayes. And I don't think we're seeing the end of this battle either. Chris Wells finds himself within a second of Wesley Waddell for 4th in GT3 AM. We'll see how he gets along. I want to see what cool car cams do I have for this vehicle. Let's take a look at the hood cams. I haven't seen too many of these, or haven't used too many of these. I think I've seen a couple of them. As we ride along with Chris Wells trying to keep up and maybe get past Wesley Waddell, who I think is probably on a little bit of a field. You can see that car twitch. I wonder how much wing that Aston Martin in front of this BMW has as they're going to keep up with the other drivers in class. Tom Leeson 12 seconds ahead of these two. So a pretty big gap as we have a crash from Bob Lindell, who has gone off track. Finds himself crash there. Let's see what happened there to Bob. As he found, just a little over rotation as he tries to catch it from going off into the gravel. He'll bump into the wall there. Gets the car going the right direction. See if there's any other potential near misses. Nope, just gets that car rolling. Meanwhile, Wesley Waddell getting passed by Chris Wells as soon as I go to look at that replay. Classic F1 style. And these three drivers, Matt Markley, Ken Duvall, Andre Saba, all still within a few tenths of each other. Less than half a second separate these three cars. Kelvin Collado in 7th place, setting the fastest lap of the race so far with 135.82 for himself. I think as well as for everyone. Only a few hundredths faster than Mitch and Kevin Hayes, who have set identical lap times for those best laps. Let me see if I can pull that up. Interval, best time. Let's see, what's the best time? See it there. So I jump over to Kelvin Collado and the rest of the class. Yeah, so a pretty fantastic result there for them so far. Ian Baker kind of on his own now, about a second behind Nick Terrell. Chris Kraus labeled as crash. Shane Brown labeled as crash. Let's see what happened here if those two are involved or related. I wonder if there's not an issue there. Osborne Motors. This checker's not. Yeah. Oh, just a self spin. He tries to get that car going. Does so. Yep. Just two separate incidents. Okay. Yeah, he almost tries to not hit Jordan Oliver, it looks like. Shane Brown does. Look at that speed difference. He comes hauling into that apex. And oh no, he just slides it out of that corner. So, Mitch Bonaventura, Kevin Hayes, within a few tenths of each other once again. We'll see them probably do this several more times before the end of the night. See Chris Kraus go off track again as we get through. Kelvin Collado, a man on a mission, found himself at the back of the pack earlier on with a couple of off tracks, finds himself back up into 7th and trying to apply the pressure onto Patrick Cantrell, who's only half a second ahead of him, as the two of them try to get through the last of GT3 traffic. Olivier Belanger in front of both of them. That's going to slow down Patrick Cantrell, bring this fight back to a head. As the two of them go dive down the inside, Kelvin Collado trying to see if he can find his own way around. And we'll see where they end up in just a moment's time. On the inside line for Kelvin Collado, we'll see that unoptimal time going through there, opening up that door a little bit wider as Patrick Cantrell flies through it. That gap going to come back down pretty heavily. Mitch Bonaventura closing in as well. I'll jump back to these two up at the top of the order. Two of them currently duking it out for the lead, as we saw them before. Ken Duvall as well as Andre Saba also in a battle. Chris Wells and Chris Kraus, I think, are duking it out after Chris Kraus had that off track earlier. Jason Larson also making his way up to Tim Schaefer. Tim Schaefer's night, I think, trying to extend and make it a one-stop, I think is going to be coming to a pretty interesting conclusion here. Patrick Cantrell, Kelvin Collado within a tenth of each other as Collado gets some great Oh, two of them forced to take the long way around. Has Jordan Oliver working his way around as well. See Kelvin go the other way. Neither really getting a better run out of this corner as a result. See the two of them continue to duke it out for 6th position. I am curious what we are going to see here coming up with the probably first of a couple pit stops within the next few minutes for the GT. Sorry, not the GT, the LMP3. Ooh, big shake there from Calvin Collado as he's trying to apply the pressure. We'll see him slip away from, or we'll see Patrick Cantrell slip away from him. Ian Baker, the first to pull the trigger and dive into pit lane to blink and get that time in. He'll have to serve, I'm going to guess, given that it's 40 minutes here, 40 plus 40 is 80. That is less than 90, which is going to be the fuel length. So I guess we're going to probably see a splash and dash, at least from Ian. That may be a hard thing for everybody else to stretch out and make a 2-stop or make a 1-stop possible. But I think it might be what Tim Schaefer, as well as a few other drivers, might be attempting here. We'll have to see as these two continue at it. Mitch Bonaventura once again finds himself within a few seconds of Kevin Hayes. Jason Larson, Tim Schaefer also diving into pit lane, I think, to get their first of what will probably be 2 pit stops done. Matt Markley, Andre Saba. I wonder if Matt Markley had it off. Had I missed somehow? I don't see it. I wonder if he had to serve something else. I'm trying to see. Past. Is this what I was looking at? No, it's recent. Jordan Oliver has been labeled as crashed. Passed on their sub for P12. Okay. Somewhere in this is the pass I'm looking for. Or, no, excuse me. Matt Markley was always behind Andre Saba. I am just bad at remembering who's where. All right, Jordan Oliver labeled as crash. Let's take a look at this as we're getting through the rest of pit stops. Jason Larson, Mitch Bonaventura, the first one to blink of the main pack, as well as Patrick Cantrell, Kevin Collado. We see, God, I imagine it's just a small self spin. Everybody else dives out of the way, so he keeps that car out of harm's way. Tyler Roberts as well. All of those drivers sliding in. A black flag for Tyler Roberts. I wonder if that was for a pit lane speeding infringement. I'm going to rewind it here because we just saw him enter in. Oh, yeah. I wonder if he was just a little too fast heading into it. We'll see a black flag from him. Black flag from Tim Schaefer as well. I wonder if that's an incident limit there. Jason Larson has to get those tires up temperature, which we'll see him slide that rear end out in front of his, not his teammate. Maybe it's Tim Schaefer. Both of them in those OMEC liveried LMP2s, having a little bit of struggle getting those tires up to temperature. Tyler Roberts, Patrick Cantrell, Joe Everest, Jason Larson, all diving in to pit lane. You can see all 4 of them here. If I zoom in right, there we go. And we are in, of course, the replay cam, which we'll see those two. Tyler Roberts serving his pit lane. We'll see him be probably the slowest out, as well as Kevin Hayes diving in for his pit lane from the lead of the race. We'll see if Nate Sides does the same thing. Yep, we see both Nate Sides and Nick Terrell come in from their positions. We'll see them probably filter back out into the spots they were in before all of this. And then in about 20 minutes time, we'll see probably the one stop happen for a lot of the GT3 field. So GT3s on a pretty easy one stop. Tyler Roberts, I believe, has served that black flag. I don't know why it would give him a black flag if he didn't serve that black flag. Kelvin Collado went off track, came back on track. We'll see him back behind Patrick Cantrell by a pretty hefty margin. Tyler Roberts as well going off track. These new tires, I think, are catching out these LMP2s pretty heftily. We'll see them drive a little bit slower up until they get these tires up to temperature. here in about a lap or two time. A little bit nicer than the GTPs we saw last season. We had a faster class than GT3s out. But we'll have to see how much that holds true. You can see Kevin Hayes weaving to get those tires up to temperature from where he is behind that Stellarum Motorsports just up ahead. Matt Markley, Andre Saba, as well as Ken Duval, all still in a fight with each other for P4 between Andre Saba, Matt Markley, Kevin Medina not far behind as well. You see, excuse me, it's farther behind than I thought he was. That's Shane Brown, not a Kevin Medina. It's a green BMW, not a red Mercedes. If I use my eyeballs, most of the GT3 field playing the pit game now. Bob Lindell piping the pit lanes. I think after he had a crash. Let's see if we can see what happened there for him. Start-finish line. We're right coming out of pit lane. There's a LMP2 of Joe Evers right in front of him, and I think he avoids or takes evasive action, and that's going to lose control of the car for him. He's going to slide across and get slammed by Wesley Woods. Let's see if I can see that again from a different angle as we get going here. I just want to see that impact a little more seriously, see how bad it was for those two drivers. He gets over the sausage curbs. Oh, just a bit of a crunch. You can see that front left tire of Wesley Woods very unhappy there. That's why we see both of those in pit lane now as they get going. Nick Terrell coming back on track after having an off track. We'll see him cycle back out into fourth where he was, I think, before the pit cycle started. All right, we are at the halfway mark. 45 minutes have elapsed for these drivers before they get into the back half of the race. We might have a yellow flag. We may not. Still waiting for it. So we'll see if we get one or if we don't get one and how that will all play out if that's the case. Jason Larson trying to catch up to Tim Schaefer. These two drivers battling it out for 10th in class. Joe Evers finds himself in front of Tyler Roberts. The rest of the field pretty much as they were before the pit cycle for LMP2. Andre Saba still trying to hang out with Ken Duval, putting about a second and a half between himself, Matt Markley, Chris Wells back into a fight with each other. Let's see if I can find the onboard there. The dash will show him that rear view mirror cam. These two duke it out for P3 in class. Marcus Osborne in for his first stop of the evening. Michael Doyen also getting his first stop done. Is going to put him further down the order, see if he can get some better time with it. Matt Markley also diving in. I wonder if he's in to change tires as well as get some fresh gas as well. Remember, it's not going to be a full stop for these GT3 drivers. They have 60 minutes of fuel on a full tank. We have no tank restrictions this season, or a new change for the season versus the last few. Like we talked with Adam Dahl a little while ago about doing fuel calculations, these GT3 drivers will have to figure out how much they need and how successful they will be in getting that much needed gas. Jordan Oliver, Wesley Waddell find themselves in a battle for what is 7th. Wesley Waddell cycling back out after getting his first pit stop done. Michael Doyen, as well as Marcus Osborne, and a couple others are the other twos that have gotten the first their pit stop done for GT3. We'll see some more come in as we get into the 60-minute marker. Michael Doyen back in. I wonder if he had a black flag to serve or has come in to call it an evening. I'm not sure. We'll have to find out. Bob Lindell finds himself still in pit lane. Wesley Woods also in pit lane with a black flag for probably an incident limit is my guess, amongst other, or excuse me, or a, yeah, I think an incident limit there, as well as getting that car fast repaired. Mitch Bonaventura and Kevin Hayes find themselves once again in a battle for the lead of this race. These two drivers cannot figure out who is the faster of the two of them, and they will probably spend the next 35 minutes at least figuring it out with, or excuse me, next 40 minutes figuring it out. We have 50 minutes on the clock, 40 minutes still to go of this 90-minute endurance race. And I've been talking for all of it. I'll continue to talk for all of it. It's fun. Chris Kraus, labeled as crashed. We'll find out what happened to him. Is Chris Kraus in the party chat? Can I ask Chris Kraus? I can. Chris Kraus, welcome to Broadcast.
Hello, fan.
What happened?
How many of my spins have you caught on?
A couple.
Caught on
I haven't
stream?
caught all of them. I've caught a couple.
Oh, I think I've only had 3.
Well, then I've caught 2/3 of them. This was the first one that got labeled as crashed, I think. I was very concerned as to what happened there. So,
I gave it the beans, and the car was not ready. Traction control did not kick in appropriately.
oh, darn.
No,
You were
yeah.
catching up to Chris Wells too, so you
I know. I'm doing my best, dude. I was all the way up in where Tom is at,
Yeah.
but then I had two spins and 2 laps back to back,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's just kind of falling apart for me, but it's fine.
Still got plenty of race left to go. You are still sitting in 4th, so I think
Yeah.
the podium's still within reach if you play
I
the
really hope
pit
so.
stop game correctly.
Yeah. And, if we get that caution and bunch up the field again, that would be amazing.
Oh yeah, that would be a fantastic time. We'll have to see
Yeah.
if it rings true or not.
There's a lot of people that are hoping for it, I'll be honest.
I
might be
I'm
one
one
of
of
them.
them. I would say
Yeah.
you're one of them. I'm one of them. I would love, because I always love, race restarts in endurance racing. Always such a fun time. So
Exactly. Yes.
I will let you get back to it. I'm gonna go check in, see how this battle for the lead overall is going.
Appreciate
luck.
it.
We'll see you in a
Thanks,
bit.
Ben. Take it easy.
You too. That was Chris Kraus, who we had just seen make that unfortunate spin. But since he was available, I figured I'd pull him in and, check in, see what happened. So, Mitch Bonaventura and Kevin Hayes still duking it out for the lead of this race. They have not gotten enough of each other, and I think that'll probably be the way till the end of the race, unless we get a competition caution and something crazy happens on the restart. Possible. Not exactly probable, but possible. Gap between these two drivers and Nate Sides, who's in 3rd, is going to be a solid 8 seconds. These two on a tear in a different zip code, I feel like, at this point. And then we have GT3 all spread out now. The last battle that I was looking at between Chris Wells and Chris Kraus dropped off as Chris Kraus has an unfortunate spin. Okay. Let's see. See how many phone calls and other conversations I've missed. Oh, I'm looking at a couple. Oh, and of course, as soon as I look at my phone. Oh, Mitch Bonaventura went off track. What happened there? Oh my God, did it just get loose? Oh, he went over the sausage curb and that broke the car loose. Comes back over the curbing. Oh, and that, unfortunately, brings this fight. It turns this fight completely on the head, as Nick Terrell now has to fight with a very, very fast and trying to get back up to speed Mitch Bonaventura. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. And he has a black flag for incident limits. Mitch Bonaventura has become an Icarus and flown too close to the sun with that car. We'll have to see if we can get a hold of him at some point. Find out what happened there. Oh, a bit of a heartbreak for Mitch Bonaventura as he was trying to fight for his 2nd win of the season alongside Kevin Hayes. And we'll see Nick Terrell step onto the podium. Nate Sides still 2 seconds ahead of him. Kevin Hayes now in a solid 8 seconds ahead of all of those drivers. Tom Leeson diving into pit lane alongside Jordan Oliver for their pit stop of the night. And we'll see how much they put in. Mitch Bonaventura coming in to do his pit stop or his drive-through penalty for incident limits. So an unfortunate time there for Mitch Bonaventura. Insult to injury. We'll see him go there. We'll see how that all shakes out. Tom Leeson, 30 seconds on the pit box. 59 seconds overall. Marcus Osborne labeled as crashed. An unfortunate spin there, because I think he was trying to get on the gas too early, or try not to kill Wesley Waddell, who he was just behind. Oh, too much rotation. You can see it slide there. It blinks for us because we are in a video game of sorts. So that's going to see him fall 10 seconds behind his next driver that he's fighting on track, excuse me. So it's going to become a game of pit lane and pit stop strategies for these GT3 Pro and Am drivers. Pro, the first person to pit is Andre Saba coming out of the lead. 30 seconds on the jacks for him. Kenny Duval, who is behind him in third of GT3 Am. We'll see him only 25 seconds on the jacks for GT3 Am. Chris Wells driving in from the lead of GT3 Am alongside Chris Kraus, who's in just behind him, having closed down that gap to about 3 seconds before all this. We'll see him follow in, both of them onto the jacks. We'll see who comes off the pit box drive there. I think Kenny Duval already in for the pit lane, so I wonder if he's back in for a splash and dash. Didn't get enough fuel. Also in Olivier Belanger, as well as Justin Hall from the leads of the race for GT3 Pro. Ken Duval in for that splash and dash. Only 4 seconds on the jacks. Chris Wells, 28.77. Just behind him, 25.63, Chris Kraus. These two are going to be coming out darn near on top of each other as they are going to resume this battle that was going on prior to Chris Kraus's spin. So we'll see how this goes. I don't think I saw either of them go up on the Jackson. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, because with a little over 30 minutes left in the race, these tires will go the distance, I think. 31.40 seconds for Olivier Belanger. Justin Hall with the 27.47, 4 seconds faster, including that pit lane travel time, gets that gap down to 2 seconds. Now, Chris Wells is being hounded by Chris Kraus. Tom Leeson finds himself right behind Matt Markley in GT3. GT3 has all come in for their pit stops as of now. Kevin Medina, the last one in, and he is out 28.38 seconds on his pit stop. We'll see him probably keep up with Andre Saba to some extent as these two drivers come back to the start-finish line. Nick Terrell keeping up ahead, trying to stay with, Nate Sides, 2 seconds now separating those two drivers. Mitch Bonaventura trying to bleed off a slowdown penalty. I believe we have Jason Larson also needing to serve another black flag for incident limits. Whew. Getting to the closing stage of this, and it is getting very interesting. We have about another 10 minutes before the pit window, the yellow competition caution, yellow flag window closes. And then we'll see where everyone shakes out from there. Following the closest on-track action right now, Chris Kraus alongside Chris Wells going to be battling it out for P3, the bottom step of the podium in GT3 Am. See if I can pull on to Chris Wells. Hop on that left rear cam, or the right rear cam. Nope, that's still forward. So left rear cam it is, or maybe the gearbox. Both will show you how close Chris Kraus has gotten to this driver. 6/10 of a second now, was 3/10 earlier, and will continue to probably ebb and flow as we get into the closing stages here. 2 seconds between Nate Sides and Nick Terrell. One of the closer battles on track. Kelvin Collado trying to catch back up to Patrick Cantrell as well in the LMP2 category. We'll see what comes of those here in just a moment as well. Marcus Osborne comes off track, goes back on track, jumps the pits, and then disconnects from the session. I get the feeling he might be done. He got that spin in coming out of what we fancily known as Variante Villeneuve, or the Villeneuve chicane. And we'll see him park it on the side of the road and get going there. Chris Wells still waiting behind Chris Kraus. Ian Baker splitting the difference of those two drivers as he goes by. We'll see those two, that battle heat back up here in a moment. Kyle Orbetz and Wesley Woods are also in a battle technically on the same lap. They're a little ways down in the order. We'll see them come through. Mitch Bonaventura in the pit lane after crashing. Oh, man, I go to look at one other thing. Oh, the same spot that caught him out earlier. He puts on the power. That car is not settled, hits that sausage curb, and that car is spearing into the wall. And that car has seen the parts go flying off of it. That front nose reattaches, but that rear engine cover as well as that wing does not. He tows it to the pits, and that will see him and his day come to an end. Also coming to an end, Kenny Duval, who was in the lead of GT3 AM, too late on the brakes, too much rotation. We're going to see the same style of incident happen here as he tries to wrangle the car. He does seem to get it under control. Not sure why he jumps to the pits, though. I think he just parks it. Yeah, he sets it down, parks it for the evening. All right. Patrick Cantrell, Kelvin Collado back into a race with each other as we get into the closing stages here. Less than 30 minutes left on this race. We'll see a few things happen as Mitch Bonaventura falling out of the top 5 now. We'll see Patrick Cantrell and Kelvin Collado move up into 4th and 5th, respectively. The rest of the grid cycling up as well. Jesse Olsen, the last driver in GT3 Pro to drive in for his pit stop, finally does so just after an hour time, the full length of the how far that GT3 can go on an unrestricted fuel cap. I'm super curious if they made it just like a little less than full, if that would make any difference. I don't know that it would. But Jesse Olsen, 21.7, a whole 6 seconds faster than Justin Hall and 10 seconds faster than Olivier Belanger, but he still is a good, almost 7 seconds behind Justin Hall after the pit cycle. Justin Hall finds himself off track for a brief moment. We're still riding along with Kelvin Collado and Patrick Cantrell. Those two drivers are going to find themselves in a battle for P4 now. It was P5. At one point it was P6 before incidents and slow pit cycles, things of that nature, all threw the landscape into a bit of turmoil. Also in GT3M, now for 2 podium spots between each other. Chris Kraus, Chris Wells duking it out for P2 and P3, not far behind them, 2 seconds, with a Bob Lindell splitting the difference is a Wesley Waddell looking to recover the positions he's lost earlier on when he was farther up the grid order. Michael Doyen's day of struggling continues just behind those two drivers. So, and Nate Sides, Nick Terrell also find themselves slowly coming into a battle between the two of them. You see Nick Terrell getting caught up by Wesley Woods, and as that LMP2 passes the Porsche GT3. That was the set of words I would like to have said the first time around, but it's what I said eventually. Now, racing predictions as we come to the final 30-minute mark. 25 minutes left. Kelvin Collado, Patrick Cantrell, late on the brakes for Kelvin. We'll see him launch it out and end up in front of him, but he almost loses control of that car, and that'll keep him close keep Patrick Cantrell close to where he is currently at. Richard Costanza find himself a quick off track as well. As you can see, all timing tower Chris Kraus as well as Chris Wells still duking it out for P2 in class. We see those two continue to drive as they get through the third sector into the Alta Chicane after Aqua Minerale. And these two going at it and having a fantastic time as well. All right. Closing stages. This battle we have here, battle between Patrick Cantrell and Kelvin Collado, starting to cool down as Kelvin finding the pace he had earlier. Set the fastest lap of the race. I think still has the fastest lap of the race. We'll see him try to make up and get himself onto the podium. 30 seconds separate Kelvin Collado and Nick Terrell. Plenty of time to try to squeeze in. We'll see from there as they get around cars. Jordan Oliver labeled as crashed. See what happened to Jordan here as he finds himself off track, on track, off track. Wonder if the car gets loose. It seems, yep, you see it right there. Gets incredibly loose and locks it up. But keeps it out of harm's way. I may have spoken too soon, so I didn't really see how that closed out, but we'll see from there. Traffic gonna keep this exciting between Patrick Cantrell and Kelvin Collado as they get through the final couple corners, Rivazza, and come across the start-finish straight. Another chicane if you're in the moto circuit, since we're on not moto circuit. We won't be seeing that. But if we were on the moto circuit, we would be the Bassa chicane to start out the lap. But instead, we get the lovely Tamburello chicane, or Tamburello set of corners, Variante Tamburello, if you want to go with the fanciness there. See these two continue to duke it out. Kelvin Collado trying to see if he can build up a gap, trying to use Andre Saba to get a little bit of distance. Patrick Cantrell going to play it safe and not get in between those and allow Andre to continue to run at his race. A very comfortable fourth position for Andre, where he started, where he seems like he is comfortable finishing. And that gap will open up to over a second. Chris Kraus, Chris Wells, one of the last battles I think we have on track at the moment, though we still have time to play for. And Justin Hall is now within a second of Olivier Belanger. Or excuse me, Justy Olson is within a second of Justin Hall. Justin Hall is missing a front end. What happened there? Let's go find out. I have an off track here for Justin Hall. I wonder if that was part of it. May not be, but I wonder if it was. Oh, that is a crunch. Whew, okay. So that is how the front end got taken off. Now, if we rewind a little bit. We're just going to live rewind it. You can see that how much time he loses as Jesse Olson just chases him down. That front end missing, causing so much more drag than the original front splitter. Which, while the model shows like it has the front splitter still on it, it doesn't get the aero effects of it having the front splitter still on it, to my knowledge. So that we'll see them two swap positions. Which means that battle comes to a close pretty unfortunately as Jesse Olson finds his way further up the podium. Chris Kraus, Chris Wells still within a second of each other. The last 1 second battle, Shane Brown, Adam Dahl are gonna duke it out here. Let me go bother Adam once more. Hello.
Hello, Fen.
Hello.
How are you? How you doing?
I'm on a nice little Sunday stroll at this point.
Well, you think you're gonna Sunday stroll your way past Shane Brown before the end of the race?
How much time do I have left? 20 minutes? Yeah. I'll scare him.
Okay. Sounds good. I was just curious. See how much points you're looking to make up. Still?
Yeah. I met the barrier twice in a row in the same turn.
Yeah, I saw it. It was very heartbreaking. I didn't want to come bother you in the middle of it because I'm not going to be like Marcus.
I appreciate it.
And just drag you in as you're going through it. Figured I'd give you a little bit of time. So.
Yep. So hopefully once all this traffic clears out a bit and we can have a nice battle without playing bumper cars.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what I can do.
Absolutely. Well, I will keep my eye on the relative for you all. I'm going to go see what's happening with Chris Kraus here. Good luck to the rest of the race, last 20 minutes.
Thank you.
And enjoy. All right. So that's what's happening with Adam Dahl there as he works his way back up the order. Chris Kraus, Chris Wells, still half a second as the leader, Kevin Hayes, now 6 seconds ahead of Nate Sides and Nick Terrell. That gap has decreased as this race has gone on. But the gap is about to probably open back up for these two drivers as Kevin Hayes splits the difference between these two and the race they have going on. With that, we're looking at these battle for these two drivers as we get into the closing stages here. Just over 15 minutes, if I'm remembering my math correctly. Sorry, just under 20 minutes, just over 15 minutes. That's that maths, if I math correctly. We'll see those two continue to fight. Olivier in the background of them, trying to see if he can put a lap on as much of the field as possible. 18 seconds ahead of Jesse Olsen, who is now already a whopping 7 seconds ahead of Justin Hall, who continues to hemorrhage time. And Nate Sides finds himself in a battle with Nick Terrell, who is only a few tenths behind him. This battle finally coming to a head as traffic finally goes the way of Nick Terrell. I bet Nick's been waiting for it all evening. See if I can ride along with him as he's working his way through. He gets sent there. Nate Sides driving offline to try to break up a little bit of draft there. Ooh, good catch from Nick Terrell there. Keeps that car from spinning out. We've seen a good handful of cars have that happen both on the entry and exit of that chicane before the final corner. Now we're into Rivazza. There we go. I almost said Rivazza, and I was like, that's not right. Rivazza. Coming through those last couple corners. See him keep that gap at about half a second as we get into the closing stages here. They're coming up on Chris Wells and Chris Kraus, who are also in a battle alongside the leader of the class, who is going around Chris Kraus. This is going to be interesting as Nick Terrell doesn't want to give up the opportunity to apply pressure here. Two of them still working their way through traffic. Nate Sides stuck behind. Chris Wells finally finds the exit, but not before Nick Terrell really makes up time here. Less than a tenth here between those two drivers as they come through the Villeneuve chicane. Now into Totza as Adam Dahl stays wide to keep out of it, having his own battle, I think, come to a pretty unceremonious end from a spin. Oh, Adam Dahl unfortunately having another crash. The evening not going his way. We'll look at that here in just a moment. I want to keep an eye on this battle between these two drivers as Nate Sides and Nick Terrell go toe-to-toe in the closing stages here. 15 minutes left on the clock. 17 or 16 and some change if you want to get specific before the end of the race. Chris Kraus, Chris Wells also in a battle for P2 in GT3 AM. That is also coming to a head. So we'll see how these two play out. I'm going to hang out with these for a little while longer. And we'll switch back to Chris Kraus and Chris Wells and take a quick break to look at the unfortunate incident for Adam Dahl. Tom Leeson, also in this drive, kind of finds himself in a quiet P1, 7 seconds ahead of Chris Kraus and Chris Wells. Those two, 0.3 of a second from each other, as Chris Kraus has a great exit from Rivazza onto the start-finish stretch. Will find himself in the draft of Chris Wells. 0.2 separate those two drivers. We'll see if there's a look into turn number 2 and the first chicane. The answer is no, but he is tucked in right behind, waiting for the opportunity still sitting 5/10 behind. Kind of spreads out with how these cars end up feeling with the aero wash. Definitely see that speed difference in the straight line between Chris Kraus and Chris Wells, and how Chris Wells is a little more aggressive on these corners than Chris Kraus is. The gap extends once more. The gap, however, closes between Nick Terrell and Nate Sides, these two drivers. Let's see if I can get onto the rear cam for these two going into Aqua Minerale. And going into the final chicane here, 5/10 separate these two drivers. Once again, Jason Larson diving in for another black flag. Given the frequency he's had those tonight, I am not surprised. All right. Gap opens back up between these two drivers. Gap closes back down a little bit for Chris Kraus and Chris Wells. That gap's only going to get further for Nick Terrell as he tries to get around Matt Markley. There we go. I almost said Matthew Medina. I was like, that's not right. It's Kevin Medina. And then Matt Markley. Wesley Waddell driving in for his black flag of the evening after an off-track limit. We'll see him drop out of that fight for P3 and the potential to get back onto the podium. Chris Wells, Chris Kraus still within a few tenths of each other, getting closer now as we get into, excuse me, I had to take a quick breath, get into the closing stages here. 14 minutes left to play for, and all the time in the world. At second separates Nate Sides and Nick Terrell, one of the closest battles in LMP2. This battle in GT3 AM, the battle for P3 on the board, will be coming up in a few minutes' time if Andre Saba keeps up the pace he has. Justin Hall bleeding time with that broken front nose. We'll see that come into play here in just a moment. But meanwhile, this battle for P2 in GT3 AM heating back up. I'm curious, and I don't want to ask because I'm going to do the responsible thing, unlike some individuals who have held the reins here. I'll be responsible and wait till it comes to an end before I say, hey, what was the thought process here? But we'll have a conversation with him at the end of the race as my guess anyway. But a great run here and a bit of draft from Chris Kraus. We'll see him close that down to 2/10. We'll see if that continues down further as he continues to close the gap. He has less than 2/10 now, almost down to 1/10. See if there's a look this time by. He does not. He hangs out behind Chris Wells, and that gap sticks at around 3/10. And it may open back up as this first sector seems to go in the way of Chris Wells the past few laps. But maybe not this time. 3/10 as they go into the Villeneuve chicane. And as they go into Tutsa and around that hairpin, 4/10 separate these two drivers. We're going to get a pretty good run here. Chris Kraus getting the draft throughout all of this, kind of stay tucked in behind. I wonder if he's playing the game to wait for the last opportunity to make the jump on Chris Wells when it matters most. Or if he's just been trying to play it safe and not make too many risks. He still gets P3 either way. So I'm sure he's pretty happy with that result, regardless of where he ends up starting from 6th. Both of these drivers starting from 5th and 6th, respectively, up 3 positions, Chris Wells and Chris Kraus, after having fantastic and consistent runs up the order. Andre Saba still 3 seconds behind Justin Hall. That gap opening and closing with traffic. Oh, 2/10 now as these drivers get and back down the start-finish stretch. Chris Kraus may have to make the look here if he gets too close. You can see Only a car length, looks like, separates these two drivers. A tenth separating the two of them. And Chris Kraus finally, I think, has to make the look down the inside. He does so, but he brakes early to not run into Chris Wells. Backs out of the corner. Keeps up, keeps tucked in. And these two continuing to go at it as we get into the closing stages here. 1 hour and 19 minutes complete. 11 minutes to go. Time is running out for Chris Kraus to make the move up to second. The pace seems to be there in the vacuum, but can he not, whether or not he can get past the defensive moves of Chris Wells has yet to be seen. But Chris Wells has not been throwing many elbows. He's been paying patient and just allowing Chris Kraus to make his own lines. We'll have to see. Second and a half, almost said a minute and a half. I was like, that's not right. A second and a half separating Nate Sides and Nick Terrell. Still, those two drivers pretty evenly matched in pace. We'll have to see if traffic goes one way or the other for those two drivers. Though Chris Wells Chris Kraus once again having the look. Chris Wells getting a little defensive finally as he gets into the closing stages here to keep this P2 spot from Chris Kraus. Not a ton, but just enough there. The two of them still within a few tenths of each other. And another fantastic exit out of Vivazza for Chris Kraus. We'll see that gap stick at a couple tenths and slowly bleed down as Chris Kraus gets the draft here. He gets the stick behind, not doing anything too crazy. Checking a couple other drivers out here. We may or may not be just hanging out with these two as we get to the closing stages here, because the battles on track otherwise are all a numbers game as we get into the closing stages here. Interval between the leaders. Kevin Hayes 7 seconds ahead of Nate Sides, who is down to a second again of Nick Terrell. If that closes him down much more, we'll hop back over, see how they're doing. Calvin Collado in this shot is also in P4, just behind the two drivers we've been talking about for the past little while, and the battle they had for P2 and GT3 AM as it's continued to heat up. Calvin Collado might bring an unfortunate end to this as he has to make his own move to keep up his aspirations of staying in fourth alive. Not that they're very well haunted, but 5 seconds behind Calvin Collado is Patrick Cantrell, who rounds in the top 5 in LMP2. GT3 Pro sees Olivier Belanger having a great run once again. Back-to-back winner of the first week. We'll see his win streak continue if he is successful here once more. Just consistent pace for this driver has kept him in front. Jesse Olsen getting P2 after a unfortunate front end issue with Justin Hall sees him slowly dropping out of the podium spots, 14 seconds ahead of Andre Saba. Andre Saba still fending off 3 seconds ahead of Kevin Medina, who sits in 5th, and Matt Markley is top 6 there. Tom Leeson, 2 seconds ahead of these two drivers. A second ahead of these two drivers now, as he's on a bit of a fuel save, I think, at this point. We'll see him continue his lead for the moment. Chris Wells in P2, Chris Kraus. This battle for the podium now 3 drivers away as Tommy Leeson finds himself within a second of Chris Wells. So we'll have to see how that goes. A wide exit for Tom Leeson. Wesley Woods amongst these drivers as he tries to find his own race and own way through all this. Could spell for an interesting closing stage here. Wesley Woods backing out to allow Chris Wells to make that battle for the overall lead. Chris Kraus trying to join in when he can. Meanwhile, Patrick Cantrell in that LMP2 trying to get around all of them. It's going to be a stressful closing stage, I get the feeling. The last 10 minutes, we have 6 left on the clock and a couple seconds now as these 3 drivers all fight it out for the GT3 AM podium spots. And meanwhile, Patrick Cantrell trying to figure out how to get through all of this. Tom Leeson, I wonder if he did not, but he was fueled the most of them. I wonder if he's either burned the most fuel or has just been unlucky with traffic, which has caused him to end up within just half a second of Chris Wells. Chris Wells might get the opportunity here to steal the win. Calvin Collado into pit lane, into the pits from the P4. As we get in the closing stages here, he couldn't go the distance. 10 seconds on the jacks means that he had to take a second fuel stop, giving up his P4 spot to Patrick Cantrell. We'll have to see how all of this plays out. Tom Leeson and Chris Wells on the lead for GT3 AM. Joe Evers finds himself just ahead of Ian Baker. Yeah, Tom, wonder if what's happening with Tom Leeson. Tim Schaefer also in for an incident limit. We'll see him stay where he's at in 10th. A evening probably to forget for him, or a good drop week for him. Jason Scott, Richard Costanza also, I think, in a quick battle here. We're going to jump away from the lead of GT3 AM just to take a quick look at this battle between these two drivers. First night out that I've seen of Jason Scott for this season, and a pretty fantastic result, up 8 positions from where he started to 6th in class and 23rd overall. And he might pick up 22nd and get a position on Richard Costanza as we get into closing stages. Kevin Hayes trying to get through them as well. Nate Sides, Nick Terrell within a second of each other in GT or LMP2. Andre Saba now only 9 seconds behind Justin Hall, and is still 2 seconds ahead of Kevin Medina. There we go. All right. Joe Evers also diving the pit lane from where he sits in 7th. He can also not go the distance. The splash and dashes, I think, are here for a lot of the LMP2 field. We'll see who can make the distance. We only have 4 minutes, I think less than, left to go in this race. Yes, about 3 minutes left. So if drivers can't make it now, it's going to be a little bit interesting. Chris Wells, Tommy Leeson are currently duking out for lead of GT3 AM. And just a second behind them is Chris Kraus, who's been caught up in traffic, but has set his own personal best lap, which is faster than the 2 cars in front of him. So the pace is there. He just has to unlock it in these next 2 laps. Jason Scott also trying to make a move on Richard Costanza to break into the top 5 of GT3 AM as well. GT3 Pro, as it was last time I talked about it, pretty spread out and everybody running their own race. But Justin Hall slowly being reeled in by Andre Saba as he tries to dethrone him for the battle there. Okay. Minute 35 on the clock. We'll see them go around at least once more, and then we may or may not have a final lap. We'll have to see. Kevin Hayes letting Dom Leeson know that he is coming through. Or excuse me. Which car is that then? Jason Larson? No. Ian Baker. That was Ian Baker, not Kevin Hayes. Well, all right. Anyway, let's see. Does Kevin Hayes get the white flag this time by? We'll have to look. I'm going to guess the answer is probably yes, but we'll see if I have a grid cam, which I imagine I would. As he's coming across the line here, we're going to look at some cars. The white flag is in the air as he is coming around. He will start his final trip around the circuit from where he started on pole. Tyler Roberts diving in as well, unable to make it also. So these drivers really stretching the LMP2 to its limits. We'll see whether or not Kevin Hayes can go the distance. Nick Terrell, Nate Sides, 3/10 apart from each other in P2 here. I'm going to keep up with that battle because that battle is trying to go down to the wire as they are also on the white flag. 4/10 between these two drivers. Let's ride along with Nick Terrell, who still sits in P3, but he has Nate Sides right in front of him, hard on the brakes into Tulsa as they get through these last couple corners here. Oh, big oversteer as he tries to catch that car from spinning. Getting on the power a little too early. We'll keep Nate Sides in front of him for the moment. 3/10 as they go into this corner, Piratella, that's the corner. That's the one I haven't said all night. And then into Aqua Minerale, a 5/10 gap now built by Nate Sides as they keep on working their way through. We'll see Kevin Hayes take home the win here in a moment as they get into the final chicane. Ferrante Alta, gap crunch down. Both of them having big moments oversteer, both catching it just barely. 3/10 separate these two drivers as they go into Rivazza, and it will be a nail biter of a finish as they get into that hard on the brakes for both of them. Both going to try to make that move, see if they either have the better run out of Rivazza. The answer looks like it's going to go the weight of Nate's Sides as Nick Terrell is slow on the gas because of the traction control. And we will see both of them come across to take home P2 and P3 of LMP2. GT3 Pro sees those three drivers as they were. Meanwhile, GT3 AM is going to have another fantastic close finish as all three of these drivers are nose to tail within a second of each other. 2/10 between Tom Leeson and Chris Wells. Chris Kraus only a half a second behind both of them. Let me hit this right on board from the rear of Tom Leeson in the lead of these train of cars. Great launch out of Chris Wells. Is going to see him go around to the left. Chris Kraus is going to try to go around the right. Tom Leeson stuck in the middle, 3 wide as they go into the final chicane. Neither wanting to lift. Chris Kraus going to end up coming out on top of it. Chris Wells losing out. And oh my gosh, Tom Leeson almost crashed there trying to keep up with all of them. Has to lift to maybe not run out of fuel. We'll see what happens here. Chris Wells lunges up the inside to try to take home P2 and reclaim that spot he had before all of this. And it'll see Chris Kraus coming out on top at the end of this. And Tom Leeson with the attempt to return back to P2, but we'll see him in P3 as they come across the line. Just a 10th behind Chris Wells, who comes home P2 in class. Couple more cars wrapping up their races as we've gone over this. Olivier Boulanger comes home. Comes home as the GT3 Pro winner. Jesse Olsen comes home P2. Justin Hall 3 seconds ahead of Andre Saba, who's only a second ahead of Kevin Medina. Another close finish there as those three drivers all finish as well. Couple results here before I pull some people in to have an interview. We're going back into start at the top here for the LMP2. We'll see Kevin Hayes come home the winner. Twice the bride last week. Now, or twice the bridesmaid, I guess. Now the bride, as they say. Or the winner here, 4 seconds ahead of Nate Sides, who keeps ahead of Nick Terrell. That nail biter of a finish. Only a few tenths separate those two drivers for the podium spots. Patrick Cantrell, after doing a massive amount of fuel saving that all of the top 5 did, including Ian Baker, keeps him in 4th. Ian Baker, obviously, like I just said, in 5th. Kelvin Collado losing out to his 4th place spot, having to do a splash and dash at the end. Joe Evers, Tyler Roberts, Jason Larson, Tim Schaefer round out the 10 cars to take home the checkered flag. Mitch Bonaventura and Devin Adams are DNF for this race. GT3 Pro is going to see Olivier Boulanger, like I said, take home the win. Jesse Holson, 20 seconds behind. Justin Hall, a lap down from where Olivier finished, and just ahead of Andre Saba. Kevin Medina, Matt Markley, and Michael Doyen are the 7 drivers there. And I want to bring both of these drivers in to talk about this finish here. So let me grab both of them here. Hold on, I'm grabbing both of you.
Oh, here we go.
A fantastic finish from both of you. That was a wild final chicane. How did that go?
Oh my God. I can't believe no one got an incident from that. I can't believe that.
It did label.
I was down to my last incident point, too.
Yeah, I was at 18x as well. We were both like right on the cusp.
It's a good thing I wore my brown pants today.
Yeah, a fantastic run. Great run from you up until that point, Tom. And unfortunate way that final chicane played out. But
yeah.
What a finish. What a finish for y'all.
That was intense. Honestly, I love the fact that we were all within like 2 seconds of each other for most of the race was crazy. Maybe not 2 seconds, but we were really close. I know Tom, you got a really good lead there for quite a bit.
Yeah. I cooked my front tires, I think.
three-quarters of
Yeah.
the way through that race, and I just couldn't get him back. And I was watching the time shrink down, and I thought, oh, this is going to be exciting right at the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was insane. And honestly, coming out of that turn, that was the only turn that I think I was better at than Chris Wells. Was coming out of that turn going into that chicane.
Yeah.
That was
one
the
spot.
only place. Yeah. The rest of it, like, we were neck and neck, or he was faster for sure. But oh my god, that was insane. I can't believe we were 3 wide going into that.
I can't believe that either. I thought I took a fairly like decent line inside, and then I saw you like just fire up the inside.
Yeah,
and I thought for sure, like, dude, you could have totally gone far right and squeezed me, and like, I wouldn't have had a chance. But
I was riding off of the rear view cam of your car, Tom. So I see Chris Wells go one way, and I see you, Chris Krause, go the other, and I was like, oh no! Immediately jumped off to a TV cam. So I was like, let's see how this develops.
As soon as I got a bad exit out of Aqua Minerale, I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah, I saw it closing down, and I was just like, ooh. I was also watching a very nail biter of a finish between Nate Sides and Nick Terrell for LMP2.
So good.
So
that's so good. Tom, to be fair, the back of your car does say peace was never an option. So
it does say that. The side also says mess with the honk, you get the bonk. So just keep your eyes open next race. That's all I'm saying.
That sounds good, man. I love it. Oh, what a race, boys. What a race.
Oh man.
Great race.
Congrats to your podium positions and
Thank you.
how that extends your GT3M championship standings. Next week, if I remember correctly, we are going to Red Bull Ring and Hungaro Ring. And it's a wet rain race. How are you all expecting to fare there?
I'm terrible at Hungaro Ring.
I love both of those tracks, but unfortunately, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to be at a hockey tournament in another city.
Nice.
I don't think I'll make it back, but I'm not too upset about it. I'll be too hungover to race probably.
Fair.
Hell
Very
yeah,
fair.
dude.
So we'll see you back at Spa the week after then.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see you, Chris Krause, next week. We'll see you in a couple weeks,
Yep.
Tom Leeson. We'll
Awesome.
wrap up this broadcast since nobody else is coming in
I
to
thought
say
it was
hi to me.
Tommy.
Well, Tom, look, you gave me free reign to do whatever, so it's just going to be 6 of one, half a dozen the other.
All right,
So
that's
I've
fair.
said Tommy a good portion of the broadcast. Don't worry. I didn't just say Tom. I've just
gonna
been
watch
trying to
you
get my...
check.
So, but congrats again. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Sven.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Our GT3 P1 and P3, though they were inverted going into that final lap for GT3M. Speaking of that, the race results there for GT3M, we've been talking with them, but Chris Krause taking home that win after that fantastic dive up the inside, 3 wide for those drivers. Chris Wells on the outside of that 3 wide finds himself in second. Tom Leeson, like he said, those cooked fronts, I think, brought him back to home P3. Still a great race from him, great results. That consistency for all those drivers, I think, paying off really well. Wesley Waddell, Jason Scott rounding out the top 5. Richard Costanza, Jordan Oliver, Kyle Orvitz, Wesley Woods, Shane Brown, Adam Dahl, as well as Bob Lindell round out your top, or the 12 finishers that come home. And then Ken Duvall and Mark Osborne are your two drivers that don't take home the checkered flag. All right. That's it, I think, for us tonight. Next week, we will be back at the same place, same time for another exciting round of sprint races, starting out with the Red Bull Ring and then going to Hungaro Ring. 2 of my favorites for Formula racing, but also Hungaro Ring is like one of my favorite tracks that I don't see enough of anywhere. So I'm excited to be there all the same. Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you all next week at the same time, 7:30. We'll see you then. Enjoy this. Man, this was a heck of a race. Come down to the wire in pretty much every class. I was curious to see how much time Justin Hall would lose to Andre Saba, and it turns out it was not much. Looking at the timer there, only about 3 seconds separated them. I almost want to come back and look at the final laps for those 2 drivers, but we'll have to do that another time. Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you all when we go to Red Bull Ring and Hungaroring, head over to Eastern Europe for a race weekend next weekend at OMEC. I've been Fettuccini, once again manning the cameras and doing all of the talking for this evening, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye. I realized I didn't do a stream ending, so you're just gonna get this as I kill it slowly. I apparently somehow still didn't finish setting up everything. Oh well. See you all next week.